All right, I would like to call this September 24th meeting of City Council to order. Madam Clerk, would you please read the roll?
Councilmember Gregg, Councilmember Shealy,
Here.
Councilmember McBride, Councilmember Mitchell, Councilmember Brady,
Present.
Councilmember Gregory, Councilmember Waring, Councilmember Seekins, Councilmember Tinkler, Councilmember Bowden, Councilmember Appel, Councilmember Parker, Mayor Cogswell.
Here. I'd now like to ask Councilmember Gregg to give us the invocation and lead everyone in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Dear Lord, we thank you today for the privilege of living in this great city and the blessing it is. Lord, we pray for our city staff and employees and their families. Pray that you would just build a hedge of protection around them and protect them as they do their work. Lord, we pray for wisdom in our decisions this evening, and that the meditations of our hearts and the words of our mouths might be pleasing unto you. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First on the agenda for presentations and recommendations, we have a proclamation recognizing Mesothelioma Awareness Day. And I'd like to ask, is it Shalom Jacks to join me up on the dais? Come on up. How are you?
Well, how are you doing? Very nice.
Want to read the
Formally meeting.
proclamation and then I'll have you say a few words. Does that work?
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. We can read it together. Whereas mesothelioma is an aggressive asbestos-related cancer that affects the linings of the lungs, abdomen, heart, and other organs. And whereas the heavy use of asbestos in manufacturing, industry, and construction has been recognized as, quote, the worst occupational health disaster in U.S. history. And whereas asbestos was used in the construction of virtually all office buildings, public schools, and homes built before 1975, and whereas a high percentage of all mesothelioma victims were exposed to asbestos on naval ships and in shipyards, including in Charleston, South Carolina, and whereas this is now believed to include many of the firefighters, police officers, and rescue workers from Ground Zero on 9/11/01, and whereas exposure to asbestos for as little as 1 month can result in mesothelioma 30 years later, and whereas because of occupational, Navy service-related, household, or even incidental exposures and the very long latency of the disease, tens of millions of Americans are now at risk for developing mesothelioma, and whereas for decades the need for research to develop effective treatments for mesothelioma was overlooked, and whereas the result of this neglect is the treatment available today generally have only limited effects on most patients and most patients die within only 12 to 15 months from diagnosis, and whereas the establishment of Mesothelioma Awareness Day would raise public awareness of the disease and the need to develop effective treatments for it. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim September 26, 2024 as Mesothelioma Awareness Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I am Shalom Jacks. I'm an attorney at the Motley Rice Law Firm. On behalf of Motley Rice, I would like to congratulate Mayor Cogswell on his recent election as mayor of Charleston, first of all. As you all may know, Motley Rice advocates for people who've been injured through their exposure to asbestos. This is our mission. Through this proclamation, we work to raise awareness that thousands of members of our community, including former Charleston Naval Shipyard workers, construction workers, paper mill workers, and firefighters, among others, were all exposed to asbestos while simply doing their jobs. As a consequence, mesothelioma and lung cancer are the leading causes of death within these communities. You may also be aware that other members of our community are exposed to asbestos in everyday consumer products, including talcum baby powder and makeup powder. No amount of asbestos is considered safe. In March of this year, the Environmental Protection Agency finalized a Phase 1 rule that bans chrysotile asbestos in only 6 conditions of use. The rule does not meaningfully address air, wastewater, and disposal risk or risk of asbestos exposure in gaskets and vehicles. Most importantly, this rule does not ban asbestos in the United States. We must therefore continue to fight to raise awareness with hope that one day there will be a total asbestos ban. I thank Mayor Coswell and the City of Charleston for bringing awareness to this cause and proclaiming today, September 24th, Mesothelioma Awareness Day. Thank you.
Go. Thank you very much.
Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Okay, next proclamation. We're recognizing one of our own. I'd like to ask Michael Better to join me up on the dais. Everybody, give him a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. I like the peanut gallery. Whereas Michael Better proudly represents the city of Charleston as a veteran, activist, father, city employee, and flag football world champion, displaying courage, commitment, and dedication. And whereas Michael always took great pride in serving his country, first enlisting in the Air Force right out of high school, quickly rising through the ranks, earning several awards for his leadership and commitment over his 6 deployments. And whereas after serving in the armed forces, Michael settled in Charleston and pursued other passions, including flag football and working as a traffic inspector for the city of Charleston and being an active community leader for criminal justice reform. And whereas Michael began to excel in flag football, from competing locally in Charleston's flag football leagues to representing the United States on the global stage as part of the USA National Football League team at the IFAF World Championships, where he played as a pivotal role in securing victory for the United States. And whereas in addition to his athletic achievement, Michael continues to serve our community by running Flags for Us, a local flag football league in Summerville, South Carolina, providing opportunities for youth and adults to participate in the sport and inspire future generations to pursue their goals, including the possibility of competing in the 2028 Olympics, where flag football will debut as an official sport. And whereas Michael Better exemplifies the core values of honor, service, and community, demonstrating that with hard work and determination, anything is possible, and continues to be an inspiration for his family, his peers, and all the citizens of Charleston. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of the City of Charleston, do hereby proclaim September 24th, 2024 as Michael Better Day.
It feels like everything has come full circle. I went from defending my country to now representing my country. I initially grew up in Baltimore City, Maryland. I landed here in Charleston after being stationed here in 2006. I laid down roots in 2006, and I've been here ever since. I started with playing football in the local flag football community of the city of Charleston, right across the street on Harmon Field, to where as I grew into what you see now. Because of the maturation of the sport, we have now obviously been announced to be participating in the 2028 Olympics, to which I hope to represent the city of Charleston as a member of Team USA.
Hear, hear.
I do want to thank my department, Traffic and Transportation, for not just the support, but for allowing me to participate and pursue this goal. It was a lifelong goal, as they know, but I could not have done it without them. My family,
I want to thank Mayor Cogswell and the city of Charleston just for having me here today. It means a lot. That support carried all the way to Finland and back here. I look forward to being up here again as a gold medalist for the 2028 Olympics.
Here, here. Make it official. Thanks, sir. Thanks again, man. Congratulations. Thank you. It's awesome. All right, we have one more recognition tonight. Somebody that really needs no introduction, having been with the city of Charleston since I was in kindergarten. So, Tom O'Brien, I'd like to invite you up here. I was in grade school, fairness. All right. Whereas the city of Charleston wishes to recognize one of its most dedicated citizens, Tom O'Brien, for over 40 years of exemplary service to Charleston. And whereas Tom began his distinguished career with the city of Charleston in 1980 as a project manager, subsequently serving as deputy director of the department, and in 2018 was appointed the director of public service. And whereas throughout his tenure with the city, Tom has made significant contributions to numerous departments, including fleet, environmental services, streets and sidewalks, building inspections, the permit center, stormwater, traffic and transportation, emergency management, and engineering. And whereas, in addition to his leadership in public service, Tom O'Brien also served as the city's emergency manager during several major storms, including a small one known as Hurricane Hugo. Doesn't say small. Whereas Tom further demonstrated his commitment by providing assistance to other municipalities affected by severe storm impacts. And whereas due to Tom O'Brien's unwavering dedication, tireless service, and profound impact on his community, the city of Charleston is undoubtedly a better and a stronger place. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, in honor of the work of Tom O'Brien, do hereby proclaim September 30th, 2024 as Tom O'Brien Day.
I was thinking as I walked up the stairs tonight, 35 years ago, this past week, the roof got ripped off this building when I was in here. So I don't think that's going to happen today. So that's good news. So I'd just like to take a moment to thank Mayor Cogswell and his staff for this honor. I've served under 3 mayors, and Mayor Cogswell in his 9 months here so far has shown the same leadership, and we're in good hands as we move forward with great projects, Sumar Street, the Ashley Crossing Bridge and everything like that. And it's been an honor, sir, in these 9 months to serve the citizens of Charleston. My dad told me when I was a young man, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. So I give up every day and I try and be part of the solution. And I'd like to take a moment to address this side of the room. All my friends over here, I've spent many nights in the MEOC, many Saturdays, Sundays, and everything. And you guys and the citizens are what makes this job worthwhile. And I'm going to miss the people. I'm going to miss the work. And I appreciate everything. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
One more token here, put together by the staff, and wanted to give you this in honor. You can hang it on your wall and remember us.
I appreciate that.
You head out into retirement, you know?
I appreciate
Let's
it.
get a picture. Yeah, come on, you got it?
Yes, sir. Get right here.
All right, all right. You got it? Yeah, here we go. Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have public hearings. There are 8 public hearings tonight. Per usual, Christopher Morgan will be presenting. And afterward, we'll be hearing from the public. Asking council to hold your comments, questions until after the public hearing. And after Christopher gives his presentations, we will open it up for, to the public.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, members of council. I think we're pulling up the slideshow right now. Start with E1, which is 10 State Street. The rezoning from limited business to single family SR5. You all have already given a first reading to this, and it's now gone to the Planning Commission. It's a rezoning of a residential property on State Street, just up from Broad, backs up to the old Saracen building on East Bay. Just an aerial of the property. And in our comprehensive plan, it's in our neighborhood designation, so this is in line with the comprehensive plan. Here's an image of the property, and Planning Commission did recommend approval of this rezoning 8-0. Then the next item is an ordinance amendment that has been to the Community Development Committee and had some additions made by virtue of that. This is an ordinance amendment that would allow for conversion of existing hotels to affordable housing if you meet certain criteria. And we'll just zip through these. The property would not be able to be converted to a horizontal property regime, and all the dwelling units would have to be rental units. There'd have to be 1 parking space for each dwelling unit. 10% of the dwelling units would have to be rented to households earning no more than 60% of the area median income. Remaining dwelling units would have to be rented to households earning no more than 80% of the area median income. And then we also have the criteria that the where is this? There would have to be 2 neighborhood meetings with area neighborhood associations by the development group that is converting the building, so that there would be some public input into it as well. And with this, meeting all these criteria, then you could convert an existing accommodations use to affordable housing. And this is coming before you all. Again, Community Development Committee gave comments and some changes were made by virtue of that. And then also Planning Commission has recommended its approval 8-0. The other items are recent annexations. We have a business park annexation in the area off of Executive Hall Road, right near 526. And its intersection with the joining, trying to remember the name of my street right there. Savage Road. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Right near Executive Hall and Savage Road. And then here's an image of the property. It's a developed commercial building. Planning Commission recommended approval 8-0. Then we've got a single family house at 1140 Crowell Drive coming in as SR1. There's an image of the map. There's the property. And that came through Planning Commission. And then 1927 Planters Drive coming in as SR1. And there's an image of it at the corner of Planters and Chancellery Way or Lane. There's the property, and that came to Planning Commission 8-0. And 2099 Bishop Drive coming into the city as SR1, right there, West Ashland. And there's an image of the property. And 2099 Bishop Drive is a recommendation for 8-0 of approval. 2 Oaks Drive, SR1 coming in the city. In the middle of the block there, there's an image of the property, and 8-0 for that one. And then 2449 2 Oaks Drive, again, nearby the other one we just saw, image of that. And those are the items that you have before you tonight.
Okay. We're now going to move on to recognize the public. Madam Clerk, how many people have signed up to speak?
So we have 1 person. Was there anyone else who needed to speak to any of the public hearings?
Okay, we'll go over this again. But you're coming up to speak. Please keep your comments focused on the agenda item and do not call out any council member individually and adhere to the rules of decorum. So who is the first speaker?
Mr. Bryant. And did you have a time limit, Mr. Mayor?
We'll give a minute and a half.
All right, the time is a minute and a half.
Anthony G. Bryan, and a point of personal privilege, I want to say something nice about a council member. And so that would be Robert Mitchell and his committee and item 2. I think item 2 is outstanding and excellent in terms of affordable housing, redefining affordable housing, making an adaptation to what is going on in the marketplace. He's been a champion for affordable housing, James Lewis, Keith Waring, others, and trying to find every means and ways to provide relief for those who need relief. And I saw it, and I said it was my duty and responsibility to come in and give favor to those who do the right thing for those who really need it. When you pray for things and you act upon your prayer, it's much more important to me that you pray for things and you ignore acting on it. And so I just wanted to come in tonight and just thank Bobby, and a point of personal privilege, to thank him for his years of service, James Lewis's work, Keith Waring's work, of course, Dali Gregory's work, not saying just because they're brothers, but at the end of the day, I am a brother, and I'm unapologetically a brother. And so anytime brothers do the right thing, I like to let white folk know we stand together.
Was there anyone else who needed to speak during public hearings? All right, we did receive some comments online. One comment from Drew Harris, representing the ownership interest for 10 State Street, expressed his support for the rezoning. One comment was received from the board of the French Quarter Neighborhood Association supporting the rezoning of 10 State Street. And a letter was received from the Historic Charleston Foundation in support of the rezoning of 10 State Street. And those were all the comments we received.
Okay, any questions, comments from council members? Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question about 2, and I got some of my questions, or number 2, some of my questions answered. Now, I would fully support this project that was presented at Community Development a while back. I don't remember this ordinance being brought to us. I know some discussion was being had on if the changes should come from a city level or come to council. So this ordinance, did we discuss this specific ordinance in committee?
Yes, ma'am. And some modifications were made. For instance, the requirement for the 10% of 60% and lower was changed.
Because we're changing this is citywide, not just for that individual project.
Correct. This would apply to any accommodations used in the city that it could become affordable housing if it met these criteria. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Morgan, popular today. Could you touch on that parking piece with 10 State Street?
On the rezoning at
Right.
Penn State?
Right.
So
I think you had a document up there.
okay.
Right.
This one?
No, yeah, but I mean, the verbiages that you had.
For the hotel.
Right.
Oh, about that. Oh, I thought you were talking about, I'm sorry, number 10 State. Excuse me.
That,
Okay. Yes, sir.
go over the parking that you,
The parking.
right, the parking requirements.
So it says all street parking shall be provided on the property at a rate of 1 parking space for each dwelling unit,
How many units they have?
which
This is where the little hotels,
well, this would apply citywide,
right,
but it was initiated because there was a hotel on Savannah Highway. It's
right.
about a 75 unit hotel and they have 75 parking spaces. They have a space for each of their accommodations units.
Okay, so so would that apply to the peninsula?
Theoretically, yes, sir. If something wanted to convert, from the accommodations used to affordable housing.
But they could always apply for an exemption if.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of difficult to comply with that parking requirement. on the
Right,
peninsula.
right, there might have to, as the mayor said, have variances for that. Yes, sir.
Okay, those variances aren't guaranteed. Might want to revisit that for the peninsula. Thank you.
Councilman Mitchell?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember, we, over the period of years, we were thinking about the hotels. Mostly the hotels would only retrofit for hotels. And when you had the downturn of the economy came, that hurt a lot because they didn't have enough housing around. Housing was being damaged, and the hotels, they could close up. And I mentioned one time when I went to a class up in Washington, DC, was a class that they had doing in Austin, Texas, if you may. And they had a downturn of the economy came, and they had a lot of hotels built all around, and they forgot about the community itself. So when that happened to the town, the town became a ghost town because the hotel was only retrofit for hotels, and they couldn't use it for nothing else. So this is when I brought this up a long time. Maybe we need to look at that, of these hotels, that they can be retrofit, that if anything happened, that they can use it for affordable housing. We know even have to be some changes that might have to take place, if it may, to have it retrofit, that they have parking and all this done. But that's why the reason came up, and I was, pushing for that long time ago, to make sure that we still have housing if people lost their home, the downturn of the economy came, a big storm came, and the hotel's there, and there's nobody's going to be coming here because of that fact. So this is why I brought that up years ago. So this is one of the things that came about of this trying to change this hotel to be able to use it if it happened, but they still have to go through the rules and regulations and make sure that they go through all the standing things that the city has.
Well,
Councilman
great idea, but I think actually in today's paper, there's a hotel in North Charleston on Arco Lane that's actually going through this exact same thing. So I think it's a great idea.
Councilman Parker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree. I think we had a really great conversation in community development about this. I think it's a phenomenal project. I am going to abstain. I'd like to do a little more digging on this, or just a little more research, because I know some of the conversation, surrounding affordable housing and things like this. When we're making changes like this, it takes it out of public purview a little. That's what I received from that meeting. So I just as a follow-up and just for the record, but I do think it's a great project.
Any other comments? Not, entertain a motion.
I move number one, Mr. Mayor,
Move for approval of item 1.
which is 10 State Street. I did it just separately because it's second reading. I'll need a third reading afterwards. So I move number one. approve.
Second.
We have motion properly seconded for item 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
So move third reading.
Wait.
Aye.
Motion to take 2 through 8 together?
Motion properly seconded to take 2 through 8 together. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
I'm going to abstain on 2, please. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
We have motion properly seconded to move for approval for items 2 through 8. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Ayes have it, with one abstention, right? On 2. Now moving on to approval of council minutes.
Second.
Motion probably seconded for council minutes from September 10th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are now on to citizens' participation. Citizens' participation is 30 minutes long. Madam Clerk, how many people do we have signed up?
We have 11 people signed up to speak.
Okay, why don't we stick to a minute, because we got a lot on the agenda tonight. Again, please recognize if you're coming up to speak, rules of decorum. If I hit the gavel, that will be a warning. If I hit it again, you will be asked to leave and potentially prohibited from coming back in. We're looking for people to voice their opinions, thoughts, beliefs, but just do it in a respectful way. And as pointed out previously, please don't direct any of your comments to any of the council members. This is not a back and forth and, or a question and answer period. And finally, out of respect, I would ask people to please silence their cell phones while public participation and really all council meeting is in business. So, Madam Clerk, please call the first speaker.
All right, and do you want to set a time limit?
Said.
Minute, okay. All right, the time is a minute. Katie Zimmerman.
Hi, Katie Zimmerman, Executive Director of Charleston Moves. Also live 45 Sycamore Avenue in Charleston, South Carolina. As you all know, since 2007, I have been bike commuting over the Ashley River bridges and along various aspects of Lockwood Boulevard, depending on where my job was during that year. I have an incredible amount of experience biking over the existing bridges. I have a lot of scars related to that bike commute. I have a lot of experience at the various intersections of Lockwood Boulevard and how you bike and how you get to the city center and how you get to North Charleston from the city center. So I just want to say I am very pleased that the Ashley River Crossing project is still on track. I clearly have a lot of concerns just making sure that it stays on track. I would like to get at least 8 hours of sleep at one point in 2024. So let's make sure it stays on track. And I'm also heartened to hear during the committee discussions that the design for B in Lockwood and connecting to it is
Time.
not out the window and that it's still continuing. So thank you.
Gloria Aslandis.
Hi, my name's Gloria Slanidis, and I live at 108 Norview Drive, directly across from the Sumar project. I want to go on record as saying not everyone is in favor of it. And as a matter of fact, I went ahead and canvassed my neighborhood. On my street alone, there was only one person in favor of it. And my question to them was, so that no one's misunderstanding or thinks I swayed the way it went, was, what do you feel about the project? Over a year ago, there was a petition because there were going to be 270 plus units, residential units, and everybody was up in arms about the traffic and everything. The old project had Charlestown Drive being realigned and straight, so it's not a zigzag traffic light. That's not going to happen now. There are no infrastructures. And for those of the council members who got back to me when I emailed you about the objections, I appreciate it. We don't always have to agree, but I appreciate your response to me. But not everyone is in favor of it. And
Time.
lastly, my one neighbor, Robert Scarborough, who is a big supporter of yours, asked that the next time the city wants to give away 3.5 acres of commercial property, that he and I be considered. We'll be happy to redevelop that.
Martha Beck.
Martha Beck, Betsy Road in Charleston. And I'm also speaking on the Sumar Street project because I was really shocked when I saw the increase in the number of people. It was a 63% increase from 270 units to 425. And that just zoomed past. We only had one public, it went very quickly. We had only one public meeting. We were told we have to decide quickly. We have to take all or nothing. There was no vote upon it. I heard 4 or 5 people in the audience standing up and going rah, 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 but that was not everybody in the audience. And I think there was a completely inadequate discussion of the ramifications of that increase in people, people, cars, everything on that small site. The second thing is that there is inadequate to possibly no public meeting spaces provided. I just finally saw the Park Circle facility and it was amazing. It's beautiful. It's got all types of rooms, different things going on. And that's a showpiece for West Ashley.
Time.
Parks. Okay. I hope we'll have some public, we don't have any public space in the new program. Thank you. Sorry.
Mohammed Idris.
Evening. Mayor promised that if we help him get established and become mayor, he would help us establish our cultural center at 155 Jackson Street. So we helped him. Now we are waiting for the help to establish that center. Promises, promises, promises. We vote to stop rioting. We vote so that we can keep our words. He had made a promise, and we are going to see that he keep that promise. Thank you, and may God bless you all.
Zach Vicidi.
Zach Facidi, 59 Cypress. Years ago, I got this chauffeur's license in the city. I had to pass a sled background check, 5-year driving record, to petty cab in the city. And I wonder today where your regulatory focus is. This expired in 2019, and not because I stopped riding. It's because the city stopped focusing on those aspects. And they reprioritized, and they looked at different areas. So I'm asking you, what are you looking at when you're looking at those petty cabs? Where is your regulatory focus? Thank you.
Anthony Bryant.
The reason why I came tonight, because I don't talk behind people's back. I saw Mayor Cogswell at County Council give a 42-minute great speech. I didn't know that Ben Navarro didn't make any real money at the Charleston place, but the hotel room was like $500. I didn't know that the Credit One Stadium didn't really make any money, but it cost a couple of dollars to get in there to an event. I didn't know that 50% of the school board has to be committed with kids with Title I money, school lunch money, all kinds of programming activity for poor kids. I didn't know that 25% of TIF money would come from poor people in Charleston who gonna fight from October to January to pay for their property downtown, and they get no deferment in 30-some years. Matter of fact, they'll lose their house within 30-some years, how the property values are going. Well, I don't talk behind people back. That's just something I don't do. And so that's why I had to come down here and buck and tussle tonight. Because when I'm called out, I deal with it. Here's my business card to the Secretary of State's Office, Department of Revenue. This is Anthony G. Bryant, A.G. Bryant Group, Inc. Give the mayor a card. Call me to get an opportunity.
Susan Lyons.
Susan Lyons, 7 Gadsden Street, downtown. I'm speaking on behalf of Groundswell. Since the Comprehensive Integrated Water Plan was released a month ago, Groundswell has continued to receive comments from citizens who are reading the plan and the basin's map. We're hoping that the city will schedule a public forum soon in a large venue where the people who have read this plan can begin to understand it better, and how so that the water team can teach homeowners how to locate their properties and follow the city's progress as you follow the plan. We also hope that you'll set up the Citizens Committee on Flooding, as was announced last month, along with the plan launch. We think both the general forum and the flooding committee will enable meaningful public engagement with this important project. Also, with work on the draft 2025 budget underway, we hope you will be including additional funds for stormwater department staff and stormwater projects in the key areas identified. Thank you.
Adam Friend.
Good evening, Adam Friend, James Island, South Carolina. I'm here also to sort of talk about the water plan. I was very impressed with that rollout and thought that it's a very nice way for us to have a playbook for the future and how we're going to protect this place, because I think it's undeniable that flooding should be our #1 priority for our area, especially those of us who already are sadly, like myself, in areas of a flood zone AE9. Time is of the essence with this. We have an opportunity which is going to take us to sort of step outside of what's our comfort zone. Time is not on our side with this. And there's a project that I know in my backyard that was identified on that map that shows it's already in the pink and red, a high flood zone area. And there is a project that's on the books or trying to get on the books that's zoned as a DR6. It's high density. This is 95 townhomes that they're wanting to put on an area that's clearly already identified as a high flood area. Those of
Time.
us who live there are suffering and have water close to inundation now. So it's going to take somebody to get out of their box and be willing to make some hard decisions on rezoning. You may have to
Time.
downzone. So thank you for your time.
Brett Bennett.
Good evening. My name is Brett Bennett. I'm presently serve on the executive committee for the South Carolina American Revolution 250th Commission, as well as president of SC 250 Charleston, which is our local organizing committee. In 2016, Congress established the U.S. Semi-Quincentennial Commission to oversee the commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of our nation. The brief enabling legislation specifically names the 4 leading colonial cities of the day, Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Charleston, for special events and commemorations. Thus, we're very pleased to be named and look forward to further exposure and notoriety for the contributions made by Charlestonians and South Carolinians in general in gaining our independence and forming our government. Some of you will recall, no doubt, bicentennial celebrations nearly 50 years ago, and many of us have favorable memories of various events and programs that took place in 1976, and we're intent on achieving much the same for 2025, 26, and beyond.
Time.
So thank you for your consideration. We're eager to have representation directly from the city on our steering committee. Thank you.
And we will go on to our online list. Barbie Schreiner.
Hello, good evening, council members. Hello. I am here in support of the SUMAR project that you all did the first reading on recently, that you will do the second reading on this evening. I believe strongly, as a resident of that part of West Ashley since 2008, that this project provides economic growth, improved infrastructure, community revitalization, and environmental considerations that are vital to West Ashley. So thank you for the time you are all spending on this issue. Thank you for voting it through. And I hope to celebrate with y'all at a grand opening a few years from now. So thank you.
Jerome Harris.
Good evening. Please mark October 3rd, 5 p.m., 5 to 7 p.m. at the police station for the CPAC regular meeting that will be dedicated to a discussion of the police department's response to the assessment of implementation. Prior to that meeting, the public is encouraged to send questions to CPAC because the department plans to respond to those questions in that context. Note that the agenda for that meeting is not yet posted on the city website, and the city department, police department is going to also post on Facebook. I'd encourage, if folks need additional assistance in connecting to that, they feel free to contact the Human Affairs and Racial Reconciliation Manager Office, Adrian Swinton, and pass those questions. It's important that we have those questions to begin to engage the department around any concerns that the community has regarding that. I'll also question whether there is public in-person conversation for the meeting of the public meeting on the 26th, or is it only online?
So the community development meeting on the 26th, that's going to be a hybrid meeting. So it'll be here and online. And those are all the speakers that we had. I did receive some comments that were sent to council in full. One comment was received from Anthony Bryant. One comment was received from Rebecca Bates, saying that all individuals should be free to start their own business and that the pedicab bid needed to be reevaluated and dispensed in a fair manner. One comment was received from DJ O'Brien saying that he believed there were unfair business practices being used in the pedicab permitting system and that there should be transparency on the winning bids. And two comments were received in support of the proposed development of Sumar Street. And those were all the comments we received.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on now to petitions and communications. There are one item on this agenda, appointments for Commission on Women. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval. All.
Move for approval of all. We have motion properly, and that is properly second for all proposed members. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, ayes have it. Also would like to thank Councilwoman Parker for her service on the commission and recommend or ask that if anybody on council, there's an opening for a council member to be on this commission. So if anybody is interested, let me know.
And Mr. Mayor, there may be a couple of new appointments
In the
who will be
audience?
in attendance.
If
I'm
you
not sure
are
if they.
in the audience, if you would just been approved, if you would please stand and let us thank you for your service. All right, there are no council communications and no consent agenda items, so we are moving on to committee reports. Would first like to call on Councilman Gregg for Committee on Ways and Means. Motion properly seconded.
All right. Thus concludes my report.
Any other discussion on this committee report? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, ayes had it. Now we are up for bills for second reading. There are 12 items up for second reading. There are two. I have a typo.
I would move to
and-
take 1 and 2 together.
Okay, and M2 is as amended. I just want to make that point. So we have motion for 1 and 2 as amended, made and properly seconded. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, ayes have it.
Move for approval 1 and 2.
I have a motion properly seconded for approval for 1 and 2 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, ayes have it.
Now for third reading and ratification, so moved.
We have motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, ayes have it. I always get confused. This is where I have to read this thing. Okay. Scratch that from the record. Now we are on to bills up for first reading. There is one bill up for first reading.
Second.
We have motion properly seconded for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are now on to miscellaneous business, and that's it. But I got to sign a few things. Y'all get to check your emails for a minute.
And Mr. Mayor, while you're signing, can I just have a moment, please?
Please.
Thank you.
Councilman,
I just want to,
Deacons.
I just want to thank my colleagues and all the staff who reached out this past week upon the passing of my mother. As you know, she was a regular attendee here at council, and it was really one of the highlights of her life to get to know each one of you, and you all were so kind. And I can just tell you, if you read her obituary, she did go begrudgingly yet peacefully. And that really was a reflection of her life. So thank you for being part of what was her life. And thank you for remembering her as she passed to the next life. So greatly appreciated by me and my family. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. All right. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned.